Hello and a very good evening. You're watching Rajya Sabha Television. This is the news tonight. I'm Frank Pereira. Here are the latest headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi delivers his first address to the nation on radio, urges Indians to shed despondency and assert their strength. Stampede in Patna during Dussehra celebrations. Many people reported killed and injured in the mishap. IMF Chief Christine Lagarde says global economy not out of the woods yet, says growth and job creation are simply not good enough. Australia joins coalition forces in war against the Islamic State in Iraq, puts troops on the ground in addition to airstrikes. And in the Asian Games at Incheon, India strikes gold twice in Kabaddi, moves up to the 8th position in the medals tally. Well, in a tragic incident, at least 32 people were killed in a stampede at the Dussehra event in Patna. PTI quoted Patna Zonal IG Kundan Krishnan as saying many people were injured. Some news reports put the number of injured at over 100. They said that the stampede was triggered by a live wire falling on the crowd. Several women and children were reported to be in the crowd. The state principal secretary said that the government will order an inquiry into the incident.
कारण जो है कोई भगदड़ किस कारण से एग्जैक्टली स्टार्ट हुआ ये अभी तक कहा नहीं जा सका, ये जांच का विषय होगा। और लेकिन ऐसा महसूस होता है कि निकलने में लोगों को जो है बहुत तेजी से जो निकलना चाह रहे थे, एक दो लोग उसमें गिर गए हैं और उसके बाद जो हल्ला मचता है, उसके बाद जो स्टैम्पीड होता है, उसकी ये घटना है, उसी का परिणाम है।
Truly an unfortunate incident there coming to light on a festive day. Moving on now, seeking to reach out to more people, Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the country over radio for the first time. The Prime Minister gave a pep talk urging citizens to recognize their inner potential and use them for the betterment and prosperity of the country. He also advocated the need for use of Khadi products as homage to Mahatma Gandhi. Here's more.
People across the country tuned into Narendra Modi's first address on the radio. The speech comes as a big push for the digital India revolution promised by the NDA government. In his first radio address, the Prime Minister asked citizens to shed despondency and use their skills for the betterment and prosperity of the country. He said it was important for them to be confident about themselves and their abilities.
आप जानते हैं हमारे ही वैज्ञानिकों ने कम से कम खर्च में मार्स पहुंचने का सफल प्रयोग सफलतापूर्वक पार कर दिया। हमारी ताकत में कमी नहीं है, सिर्फ हम अपनी शक्ति को भूल चुके हैं, अपने आप को भूल चुके हैं। हम जैसे निराश्रित बन गए हैं। नहीं मेरे प्यारे भाइयों बहनों, ऐसा नहीं हो सकता।
Promising to make radio broadcasts a regular affair, the Prime Minister also invited suggestions from the general public. He also touched upon some of the suggestions received, which included the introduction of skill development from 5th standard, special programs for specially abled children, more dustbins, ban on polythene and making registration of small-scale industries easier.
कुछ दिनों से मेरे पास जो अनेक सुझाव आते हैं, बड़े इंटरेस्टिंग सुझाव लोग भेजते हैं। मैं जानता हूं कब कैसे कर पाएंगे, लेकिन मैं इन सुझावों के लिए, क्योंकि ये भी एक सक्रियता जो है ना, ये देश हम सबका है, कोई सरकार का देश थोड़ा है, नागरिकों का देश है। नागरिकों का जुड़ना बहुत जरूरी होता है।
Modi's 15-minute address also referred to the father of the nation and he asked people to buy and use at least one Khadi product. He also urged more and more people to join the Clean India campaign.
खादी की बात बहुत स्वाभाविक ध्यान में आती है। आपके परिवार में अनेक प्रकार के वस्त्र होंगे, अनेक प्रकार के फैब्रिक्स होंगे, अनेक कंपनियों के प्रोडक्ट होंगे। क्या उसमें एक खादी का नहीं हो सकता क्या? और ये मैं इसलिए कह रहा हूँ कि अगर आप खादी का वस्त्र खरीदते हैं तो एक गरीब के घर में दिवाली का दिया जलता है। क्या वो विजयादशमी के पावन पर्व पर हम सब गंदगी से मुक्ति का संकल्प करें और गंदगी को खत्म कर करके विजय प्राप्त करना, विजयादशमी के पर्व पर हम ये संकल्प कर सकते हैं।
The Prime Minister has promised to make these radio broadcasts a regular affair, saying he would try to make them twice a month affair on Sunday at 11 a.m. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, Doordarshan sparked a controversy by telecasting live the address of RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat. The RSS chief was speaking at the customary function on Dasara that coincides with the 89th foundation day of the organization. Bhagwat welcomed the initiatives of Narendra Modi government on national security, economy and international relations in a short period of 4 months.
जिस सपनों के भारत के निर्माण का चित्र हमारे अंतर्मन में है, शायद इस बार इस शासन के नेतृत्व में उस दिशा में धीरे धीरे बातें बढ़ेगी। अच्छी बात है, आनंददायक बात है, परंतु अभी तो 6 महीना भी नहीं हुआ। देश के सीमा की सुरक्षा संकट में आ गई है, कानून और व्यवस्था भी संकट में आ गई है। ये स्थितियां हम देख रहे हैं।
Well, the hour-long broadcast by DD for the first time of an RSS function was criticized by many political parties, including the Congress and the CPIM. The BJP, however, denied the charges of misuse of the state broadcaster. Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself came out in support of the address by tweeting that the issues of social reform the RSS chief raised are very relevant.
DD has taken a decision professionally because millions of people want to listen to what the RSS chief is saying. It's a newsworthy event. It is covered by many private channels. So what is good for private channel is how can it be bad for public broadcaster? It has to also survive. It's like any other free media.
INB ministry was an answer to the people and the country. How Doordarshan has been allowed to be used as an instrument in the hands of RSS for its propaganda, or how the Doordarshan can be allowed to be a mouthpiece of RSS in a country like ours.
पहले आज तक RSS की जो सर्वसंघचालक की जो भी भाषण जो होती है विजयदशमी के दिन, वो होती है उनके स्वयंसेवकों के लिए, और इसका कभी डायरेक्ट टेलीकास्ट इस तरीके से ना हुआ, ना उसकी कभी योजना बनी.
I think it gives you a good and a fair idea of where the real remote control and the real power lies. If Mr. Bhagwat is talking about trade imbalance being improved in favor of India, that's a different thing. If he's talking of trade per se being reduced or imports being reduced, then I think the government of India is trying the opposite. It's trying to increase trade with China. So there should be a clarification as to what it means.
वो तो कहेंगे ही, चूँकि नरेंद्र मोदी उनके ही नॉमिनी है, आरएसएस के नॉमिनी हैं, तो अपनी तारीफ तो खुद करने की कोई बात हुई नहीं. जब दूसरे उनकी तारीफ करें तभी हो सकता है.
मेरी नज़र में ये अपने आप में एक बड़ा गंभीर मसला है, और गंभीर मसला होने के कारण बहुत स्पष्ट है. पहली बार एक ऐसी संस्था जिसका सर्वधर्म समभाव में कोई यकीन नहीं है, जो धर्म के आधार पर समाज में विभेद पैदा करने की बात करता है, जिसके ऊपर दंगा फैलाने के आरोप लगते हैं, अगर ऐसे किसी शख्स को सरकारी तंत्र पर अपनी बात कहने का अधिकार दिया जाता है या वो बोलता है, तो ये एक निहायत गंभीर बात है.
Mohan Bhagwat is a party man. He belongs to one party. So these things, this government should be careful in using the public media. So this is all, the government should be careful. They should not use this. This is not fair on the part of this government.
Well, with the assembly elections in Maharashtra thrown wide open with all major parties fighting them alone, there is growing speculation about the possibility of any post-poll alliances. On Friday, Sharad Pawar denied any prospect of having a secret deal with the BJP, a charge that was levelled against him by the Congress leader and former Chief Minister Prithviraj Chavan.
The dust just refuses to settle down on the breakup of alliances in Maharashtra. NCP chief Sharad Pawar on Thursday responded to the allegations of the Congress, making it clear he had no understanding with the BJP. Immediately after the Congress-NCP split, former Chief Minister Prithviraj Chavan had alleged a secret understanding between the NCP and the BJP. Speculation had increased about the NCP's roles since it called off its alliance with Congress immediately after the BJP broke up with the Shiv Sena.
ये जो षड्यंत्र रखा गया है, 15 दिन बचे हैं, 20 दिन बचे हैं, सरकार गिराने का कोई तुक नहीं था। एक ही अंदरूनी बात हुई थी कि सरकार भारतीय जनता पार्टी के हाथ सौंपेंगे, और राष्ट्रवादी कांग्रेस ने एनसीपी में सरकार सौंप दी। 15 दिन के लिए सरकार भाजपा के हाथ सौंप दी।
MNS chief Raj Thackeray also threw his hat in the ring, blaming Pawar for the 25-year-old Shiv Sena BJP alliance split. Thackeray claimed a close confidant confirmed this to him.
15 वर्ष सत्तेवरती कसे बसू शकले, कसे राहू शकले, याचं एकमेव कारण म्हणजे शिवसेना भारतीय जनता पार्टी ही जो विरोधी पक्ष आहे ना, हा आतून मिळाला. तुमचा विश्वास नाही बसणार.
The Shiv Sena, meanwhile, is going all out to cash in on the breakup, calling it a betrayal. Aditya Thackeray, the president of the youth wing of the party, is confident that BJP's actions will help it to form government in Maharashtra.
दुःख होतं ना, मलाही होतं. युती तुटल्याचं दुःख होतं. दुःख ह्याचं नाही की आपली कुठे ताकद कमी झाली, उलट ताकद आणि जोश वाढलेला आहे आपला. ताकद वाढलेली, जोश वाढलेला. ज्याला मी मोठा दादा समजत होतो त्यांनी आपल्या पाठीत खंजीर खुपसलं.
All the 5 main parties of Maharashtra are fighting these assembly elections alone, and so far, none is talking of any post-poll alliances. Aditya Thackeray also ruled out any possibility of joining hands with Uncle Raj Thakray's Maharashtra Navnirman Sena after the elections. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, party leaders campaigned for their candidates in various assembly constituencies in Maharashtra and Haryana, while the BJP President Amit Shah campaigned for Pankaja Munde in the Bhagwangarh seat. Congress candidate Deepinder Hooda addressed a rally in Haryana's Khargoda seat. Here's more.
BJP President Amit Shah addressed a rally in the Bhagwangarh constituency of Maharashtra. He appealed to the OBC community, urging them to take forward late Gopinath Munde's vision for their welfare and vote for his daughter Pankaja Munde.
गोपीनाथ राव ने पूरा जीवन उन्होंने पिछड़े समाज और ओबीसी समाज के कल्याण के लिए दिया। महाराष्ट्र के अंदर बहन पंकजा के नेतृत्व में पूरा ओबीसी समाज एकजुट हो, और गोपीनाथ राव जी ने जो काम अधूरा छोड़ा है पिछड़े समाज के कल्याण का, उसको पंकजा ताई के नेतृत्व में आप आगे बढ़ाइए।
Deepinder Singh Hooda addressed a campaign rally for the Congress in Haryana's Kharkhoda constituency. Hooda reminded the farmers of the measures that the government has taken for their welfare.
आपकी सरकार बनी तो सरकार बनते ही पहला फैसला लिया 1600 करोड़ के किसान के बिजली के कर्जे माफी का पहला फैसला हुआ। उसके बाद किसान की कर्ज माफी का फैसला हुआ। किसान का ब्याज का दर जो 11% था, इनेलो भारतीय जनता पार्टी के समय में महंगाई तो बढ़ती रही मगर 11% से ब्याज का दर घटा के पहले 7% किया, फिर 4% किया, और अब एक फैसला ले लिया पानीपत की रैली में। और इस महीने से कोई भी अगर किसान भाई कोऑपरेटिव से हरियाणा के अंदर कर्जा उठाएगा तो समय पर अगर कर्जा वापस करेगा तो जितना कर्जा लेगा केवल उतना वापस करना, ब्याज का पैसा हरियाणा में नहीं लगेगा। ये एक फैसला हरियाणा के अंदर।
News agencies also reported that former Haryana Chief Minister Om Prakash Chautala seen meeting party leaders and supporters in Haryana's Jind constituency. His presence at the rally comes barely days after the High Court asked the CBI to explain how Chautala was campaigning while on bail. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, for all the other election-related news and updates, here's a quick wrap in Polpuri. The Bombay High Court has asked the Election Commission to state what action it would take against political parties who use children in election campaigns or any poll-related work. The court was hearing a PIL seeking a ban on minors being used in campaigning. Election Commission had filed an affidavit stating that it had written a letter to the Chief Secretaries of State, electoral officers and political parties to take steps to ensure that children are not used in poll campaigns. However, the affidavit was silent on what action would be taken in case children were used for such activities. The Bombay High Court has dismissed a bunch of petitions filed by several candidates challenging the decision of electoral officers in rejecting their nomination forms for the assembly elections in Maharashtra. While rejecting the petitions, a two-judge bench of the High Court opined that the election process has already begun and therefore, at this stage, relief cannot be given. In their petition, the candidates had complained that the decision of the electoral officers was illegal and high-handed and should be set aside. According to an affidavit filed with the Maharashtra Election Commission, BJP candidate Mohit Kamboj was learned to be the richest candidate contesting the Maharashtra Assembly polls. Kamboj, who will contest the Dindoshi Vidhan Sabha constituency, has declared assets worth 354 crore rupees to the Election Commission. The second richest candidate in the state is also from the BJP. The party's Mangal Prabhat Lodha, who is seeking a re-election from the plush Malabar Hill constituency, has declared assets worth 199 crore rupees. Well, for all the election-related news and updates, watch our special election bulletin Verdict 2014 every day at 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. Well, let's now bring you up to date with all the newsworthy stories from across the nation in our segment Nationwide. Union Tourism Minister said that the visa on arrival facility might become redundant once the e-visa facility is introduced. Visa on arrival is being extended for 6 airports within a month. But the ministry is working on an e-visa facility that will help tourists to get their travel documents by applying online. A teenage girl was killed and 4 people were injured when Pakistani troops targeted villages and Indian forward posts along the line of control in Poonch district. Pakistani troops resorted to mortar shelling and small arms fire on several border hamlets. The army also arrested 2 Pakistani intruders along the line of control in Palanwala and Sabjian areas of Jammu and Poonch districts. The Bangalore Special Court pegged expenses that former Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Jayalalitha paid for the marriage of her estranged foster son V.N. Sudhakaran at 3 crore rupees. Sudhakaran's marriage was dubbed as the mother of all weddings. It was held in 1995 when Jayalalitha was the Chief Minister. Moving on, now President Pranab Mukherjee and Vice President Hamid Ansari led the Dasara celebrations along with Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the Subhash Maidan in North Delhi. Sharing the stage with them were former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh and Congress President Sonia Gandhi. Before the effigies of Ravan, Meghnad and Kumbhakaran were burnt, the dignitaries released white pigeons as peace symbols.
दशहरा आज दुनिया भर में बसे हुए भारतीयों द्वारा धूमधाम के साथ मनाया जा रहा है। ये त्योहार हमारी महान प्राचीन सभ्यता, संस्कृति, परंपरा तथा बुराई पर अच्छाई का जीत का प्रतीक है।
Well, it's time for a short break now, but as we head into a breather, we get you these visuals of Dasara celebrations across the country. Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha Television. Well, the Australian cabinet has given its approval for fighter jets to join the US-led military action against Islamic State targets in Iraq. Prime Minister Tony Abbott said IS was a death cult that had declared war on the world and must be stopped. Australian Special Forces troops will be deployed in Iraq to assist in the fight against Islamic State militants. Australia's Prime Minister Tony Abbott made the announcement on Friday and said that the country's aircraft will also join US-led coalition strikes. While the involvement of Australian aircraft in Iraq had been flagged, the use of Australian troops on the ground was not as widely anticipated.
Cabinet has authorised Australian airstrikes in Iraq at the request of the Iraqi government and in support of the Iraqi government. Also, subject to final legal documentation, Cabinet has authorised the deployment of Australian Special Forces into Iraq to advise and assist Iraqi forces.
Last month, Abbott sent aircraft and 600 personnel to the United Arab Emirates in preparation for joining the coalition. He has since said it was likely Australian aircraft would join the airstrikes to combat Islamic State, which he described as a murderous death cult.
The Americans certainly have quite a substantial special forces component on the ground already. My understanding is that there are UK and Canadian special forces already inside Iraq, so we'll be operating on a much smaller scale, but in an entirely comparable way to the United States Special Forces.
The United States has been bombing the Islamic State and other groups in Syria for almost 2 weeks with the help of Arab allies and hitting targets in neighbouring Iraq since August. European countries have joined the campaign in Iraq but not in Syria. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television. Hong Kong leader Leung Chun-ying agreed to open talks with pro-democracy protesters on Friday. He and his Chinese government backers, however, made clear that they would not back down in the face of the city's worst unrest in decades. Here's a report.
Protesters in Hong Kong have agreed to talks with the government after a week of unrest. Chief Executive Leung offered the talks with his deputy late on Thursday but rejected calls to resign. Angry at China's plan to wet election candidates, the protesters are occupying parts of the city since the weekend. Beijing has thrown its full support behind Leung, calling the protest illegal and doomed to fail.
我認為呢啲做法呢，唔單止係影響到救援嘅救急扶危工作，唔單止影響到我哋目前未有咁樣計劃。但係正如我剛才所講呢，任何一個地方呢都唔會無限期咁去容忍一啲示威者呢用呢個方法將嗰個地方嘅政府總部同埋佢嘅首長辦公室呢。
In 2 districts on Friday, scuffles broke out between demonstrators and residents, angered by a week of disruption. In Mong Kok, a commercial district across the water from Hong Kong Island, police formed a human chain to separate the opposing groups. Similar, though smaller, disturbances were reported from the Causeway Bay area on Hong Kong Island.
Actually, the police is trying to prevent those guys from destroying our protection, and then they are preventing them to destroy these stuff, and so that we can continue our protection here in Mong Kok.
Government offices in the main protest-hit area have been closed, with the authorities urging staff to work from home because roads were blocked. Though the protest was significantly smaller on Friday, some groups remain on the streets. Police criticized protesters for obstructing traffic and blocking supplies reaching government offices.
The obstruction is unreasonable and unnecessary, severely affecting the emergency service and the life of the general public. I emphasize that this behavior is not only irresponsible, but also law-breaking.
China's leaders have issued very few direct comments about the Hong Kong protests since they began. President Xi Jinping is yet to mention the protest directly. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
More international news now. Ahead of the IMF and World Bank meetings, IMF Chief Christine Lagarde raised concerns over the pace of global economic recovery. She said that the global growth and job creation was simply not good enough. She added that the tensions in Ukraine and the Middle East could have continuing economic effects. She urged less austerity measures and advancing efforts to create jobs. She said that the economic rebound is weaker than expected and countries are running the risk of getting stuck in a prolonged period of sluggish growth, especially in the Eurozone.
The global economy is weaker than we had hoped only 6 months ago. So there is recovery, don't get me wrong, but it's weaker than what we had thought. And we forecast a modest pickup in 2015 and that's an important factor, the outlook for potential growth has been pared down.
Well, let's now bring you up to date with the other international news and updates in our segment Global Buzz. The Norwegian Nobel Committee will soon announce the name of the winner of the 2014 Nobel Peace Prize. Fugitive U.S. intelligence analyst Edward Snowden, Pakistan's Malala Yousafzai and others are among those who are nominated. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and gynecologist Denis Mukwege are also among the frontrunners. The Pakistani government has ordered a crackdown against the anti-Nawaz Sharif protests. An FIR was lodged against 5 people, including a woman and a child, for putting up slogans demanding his removal as Prime Minister. Protesters from Imran Khan's Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf and cleric Tahir-ul-Qadri are in the forefront of the protests against him in the last 2 weeks. The search for the 16 missing hikers on Japan's Mount Ontake was called off on Friday due to bad weather. A typhoon near the southwest coast made conditions hazardous for the 2,000 people searching for the missing people. The volcano that erupted last Saturday killed at least 47 people, making it the worst such incident in 50 years. Finally, some sports news now. India achieved a golden double on the mat today, providing a final flourish to its standings at the Asian Games. Both men's and women's kabaddi teams celebrated with fans and friends cheering back home. But in the end, it turned out to be a bittersweet end to India's run at the Asian Games in Incheon, as its medal count went down in this edition compared to the last.
India closed its Asian Games campaign on a high note on Friday, maintaining dominance in kabaddi with 2 gold medals. The Indian men's team defeated Iran 27-25 in a thrilling final. But it was not a cakewalk. The winners were trailing by a big margin of 13-21 at halftime. They played catch-up with Iran for most part of the game before drawing level in the last 7 minutes.
Go for a tackle or just let it be. 1 point the difference, they go for the tackle. And India have it. The time is up with that tackle.
The women's team, however, won their final against Iran comfortably. They got the better of a fighting Iran 31-21 to retain the gold. Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulated the team.
कबड्डी में जहां तक गोल्ड का सवाल है, देखिए अभी इतना बड़ा बूस्ट मिला है थैंक्स टू प्राइवेट कंपनीज कि उन्होंने ये प्रो कबड्डी जो शुरू किया है उनकी वजह से लीग शुरू की प्रो कबड्डी और एकदम से कबड्डी ग्लैमरस हो गई.
I'm delighted. I congratulate our team, men and women, because we won 6 gold, we won silver, we won bronze. It's been a good performance.
Hammer thrower Manju Bala's medal was upgraded from bronze to silver after a Chinese competitor who finished ahead was caught for doping. The medals now take India to the 8th position in overall standings. With no Indian participation on the last day of competitions on Saturday, the overall standings can change depending on the performance by other countries. India has 57 medals so far with 11 gold, 9 silver and 37 bronze medals. The medal collection was well below India's expectation, having made a haul of 65 medals in the previous edition of the Games in Guangzhou. Bureau Report, Raj Sabha TV.
Well, that's it on this edition of the Bulletin. Thank you so much for watching. Good night. Happy Dashara.